Just when you thought things couldn't get worse for TD Bank, think again, another scandal is making the headlines. The National Bank is warning about over-optimism. Tesla is bringing a fresh new look to North America. Canada had another budget surplus, but there may be rougher waters ahead. And Bitcoin goes for a ride yesterday following a hack on the SEC's Twitter account. Today is Wednesday, January the 10th, 2024. Let's get started with today's news. There is some very scandalous news that's coming out regarding the ongoing U.S. Department of Justice probe into Canada's TD Bank. And with TD Bank being one of my largest personal shareholdings, I get why people are concerned. As these facts are coming out, apparently executives at the company knew about this probe more than half a year, so about 6 months before they publicly disclosed the investigation to shareholders. And, obviously an investigation by the U.S. Justice Department into anti-money laundering activities is something that shareholders should be made aware of as soon as practically possible. As it turns out, the investigation also played a significant role in the termination of TD's proposed acquisition of First Horizon Bank. That deal was announced almost 2 years ago in February of 2022 that TD would buy Horizon. Then in November of 2022, executives at the bank were made aware that there are a number of violations had been found in its anti-money laundering process. And in fact, they were told that the violations were so significant that they may result in the U.S. regulators rejecting the First Horizon deal. Before that could happen, in May of 2023 to be exact, the deal was actually terminated. And this has led to a lawsuit from a number of First Horizon shareholders which accused TD of making misleading statements and omissions about the transaction. I wouldn't be shocked if there are more class action lawsuits that come out of these most recent revelations. Aside from the deception, the investigation itself has been weighing quite heavily on TD over the past year. We've seen the share price significantly underperform the sector. And in response to these most recent revelations, a TD spokesperson, Lisa Hodge, she said in a statement, TD has rigorous processes in place to ensure disclosure of information consistent with our disclosure and contractual obligations. Our public statements updated the market as matters evolved. At all times, TD acts in the best interests of the bank and our shareholders. Reportedly, fines and penalties that are related to this anti-money laundering issues, they could range between $500 million and $1 billion US. No doubt, the bank can afford to pay these amounts. There's no question there, but the potential hits to the reputation may cost them in more intangible ways. According to the CEO of National Bank, Laurent Ferreira, those who are expecting deep interest rate cuts in 2024 are jumping the gun and in his opinion are being too optimistic. In particular, he says that the upcoming wave of mortgage renewals is going to have a bigger impact than a lot of people expect. And I know we've spoken a lot about that, the potential wave of renewals coming in. We've spoken about that here on this channel, but maybe enough people aren't really paying attention. Speaking at a conference that was hosted by the Royal Bank, Ferreira also commented there are a number of outstanding conditions that would keep inflation at a higher rate. We are expecting some rate cuts in Canada in 2024, but I do believe that a no-growth, persistent inflation scenario for the next few quarters is possible. That would prevent more aggressive cuts and earlier cuts as well from the central bank. So these concerns about the mortgage renewal problem and this onslaught that's coming are compounded by issues that I reported on Monday here on this channel, including new tax concerns that are levied on the financial sector in general, but as well as more stringent capital requirements. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Harvest ETFs, where they believe in building and preserving wealth through long-term ownership of high-quality businesses. Harvest offers a whole range of options to suit your needs and goals, whether you want equity, enhanced equity, or fixed income. With Harvest ETFs, you can benefit from their proven three-step process. They pick the best growth industries. They choose the top businesses in those sectors. They boost their returns by generating income through covered calls. Plus, you can get leveraged exposure to some of their ETFs for even higher potential returns. And for those of you who prefer fixed income, you can invest in U.S. Treasury ETFs with covered calls for higher monthly distributions. Or if you want to invest in growth industries and major trends without those call options, you can opt for their equity growth ETFs. So whatever your preference, Harvest ETFs has you covered. Visit Harvest ETFs or click on the link in the description of this video to learn more. Quick reminder, commissions and management fees and other expenses may be associated with investing in Harvest ETFs. Their values change over time and past performances may not be repeated. Please read the relevant prospectus before investing. Tesla announced this morning that they plan to roll out a new restyled version of its Model 3 sedan here in North America, and they will be taking orders apparently within a month. A version of the vehicle has been launched previously in China and Europe, and it has been very widely and positively accepted. The new car features a sleeker hood, low-profile headlights when you compare it with the old Model 3. Teslas say that new owners will enjoy an all-new interior that features a sleek, minimalistic styling with a premium look and feel. The cabin is quieter than ever thanks to wraparound acoustic glass and includes new features like an ambient lighting and ventilated seats. Now, with the changes here, the long-range version will have a range of 341 miles, so that's up slightly from the current 333 miles of the previous version. The rear-wheel model is still listed with a range of 272 miles. The Model 3 rear-wheel version will be priced at $38,990 US, with the longer-range version being priced at $45,990. Statistics Canada announced on Tuesday that Canada's trade surplus narrowed to $1.57 billion in November, and that is significantly lower from the $2 billion that had been forecasted by a Reuters analyst survey. At the same time, Stats Canada announced that October's surplus was revised upward to $3.2 billion. That's up from the previously reported $2.97 billion. Total exports in the month of November, they shrunk for the first time since June to $65.7 billion, and that's down 0.6%, while imports rose 1.9% to $64.2 billion. This now marks the fourth consecutive monthly surplus. Exports of mineral and non-metallic mineral products were down 6.5%, and exports of aircraft and other transportation equipment and parts were down 16.8%. This is in the month of November. On the import side of things, purchases of energy products increased 11.6%. That follows two straight monthly declines, mainly driven by higher imports of uranium from Kazakhstan, and also due to an 18.8% jump in imports of refined petroleum energy products. So what can we expect here going forward? Well, Catherine Judge, she is an economist at CIBC Economics, and she warns that we can expect a shift in our trade balance in the coming months. She says Canada's trade balance should swing back into deficit territory as auto imports normalize following the U.S. strike impacts, while demand for Canadian exports will be limited by high interest rates globally. There was quite a kerfuffle yesterday when a social media post on the X platform announced that the Securities and Exchange Commission in the U.S. had finally granted approval for Bitcoin ETFs. The post included a picture that purportedly quoted SEC Chair Gary Gensler. Well, the tweet, of course, was fake, but before anything could be done about it, the price of Bitcoin shot up to about $47,680, quickly falling back minutes later to $45,400 when reality set in and the fact that the post was fake became known. In a few minutes, nearly $90 million worth of Bitcoin long and short positions were liquidated. That's just a reminder to me that the manipulation risks associated with the industry remain pretty profound. A spokesperson for the SEC, they said that its X account had been compromised and said that the approval had not yet been granted. It is widely expected that the SEC will in fact approve a number of ETFs, which will truly be a sea change in the crypto industry. Ironically, previous applications for a spot Bitcoin ETF, they've been rejected by the SEC, commonly citing fears of market manipulation as a concern. Now, of course, we see this social media manipulation. At the time of filming this video, the SEC has not made an official announcement, but is expected at some point, probably, quite possibly even today, that they will publish their decision on whether to approve these funds or not. I wonder, given the circumstances yesterday, there's some concern that the whole event might actually delay the approval by the SEC. But that said, if news does break after I film this video, that may have come a reality by the time that you're watching this video. I know that everyone can't catch every one of our YouTube videos, but we have you covered. Did you know that you can listen to all our YouTube videos in podcast format? So maybe you're driving, maybe you're out for a walk, maybe you're looking for some stimulating economic news to fall asleep to. Well, every video that we post on YouTube also has a podcast version, so you can go ahead and look us up on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Or if reading is your thing, you can subscribe to our Pulse newsletter, which comes out every weekend.